Ladies and dudes, I got a surprise for all of you. I finally got one of the Spider-Man movies that I really want to check out again. And yes, it's finally here for season 11. Well, anyway, hi ladies and dudes, this is Rebecca Liv Barkley, aka Boobop97. This is my review for today. And today, we're finally here on season 11. And it's a good way to start this season 11 for this important movie review that I really want to do for today. Yep, I finally kept my promise that I will do the Sam Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man. And we're going to start with the first one. And yes, ladies and dudes, it's very darn true. We're finally going to head on to its 20th anniversary. The day when this movie came out in theaters, and it did become one of the most popular films in the year of 2002. Yep, 20 long years had finally passed. And also, ladies and dudes, there's another big giant surprise for all of you. And since the 20th anniversary of Spider-Man is coming up, you remember that the director Sam Raimi and also the composer Danny Elfman, they're finally going to reunite again for the sequel of Doctor Strange. Now that will be one big giant surprise that nobody will never forget in world history. We got the same director and the composer who did 2 out of 3 of the Spider-Man films. Well, you know, them working together. And also, they also worked together in Darkman. That's for sure. Let's not waste any further. So here we go. Here is my next movie review of Spider-Man. The very first film that started it all. So, let's get this whole movie review started. It's a story about this 18-year-old young man named Peter Parker who had a really bad, terrible life as a teenager. You know, bullies picking on him, and he always gets late at the school bus, and he's nerdy and he loves science, and he's trying to get a girl named Mary Jane, but every time he had failed to impress her, I guess. And then one day when he and the students are going on their field trip to go to one of those those scientist things? Maybe a science museum or something. Peter Parker asked Mary Jane to take some pictures so he could put it on something for science, I guess. One day there's some weird looking spider that came in the top of the building somewhere, you know, doing its spider web. It just went down and give Peter Parker a little bit of a bite in its hand, and then this little spider did a weird thing that happened to him, and how should I say this? Let's just say later on he'll become Spider-Man. And also we got a dude named Norman Osborn, who's also a scientist, and he wants to impress these military people or whoever these people are about his next experiment with this glider thing or whatever it is. And yeah, there's something bad happened to him too. He became the Green Goblin. I wish I could say more about this, about the very first film that started it all. So that's my whole entire plot of Spider-Man. So, anyway, ladies and dudes, I guess everybody wants to know, what the heck do I think about this movie called Spider-Man? Well, to tell you the truth, ladies and dudes, I really do like this movie. It's a very enjoyable movie to watch, but I will say this movie is kind of outdated here or there. Well, for the most part, anyway. But overall, it's still a very enjoyable film to watch. No wonder this is everybody's favorite superhero movie of all time. Well, before we got Spider-Man 2. I will say it had a pretty good storyline for the most part. The characters were likable. It has really nice casting, good directions from Mr. Sam Raimi. The score from Danny Elfman is pretty darn cool. And yeah, the costume design of Spider-Man is pretty darn cool. And there was one song that really did blow me away. Something that I love the most. A song that I listened to all the time back in the year 2002. I will say that's truly the best part I love about that movie is the song. So anyway, ladies and dudes, let's head on to my strongest points and the weakest points of Spider-Man. I will say for the strongest point for this movie is truly the song called Hero, sang by Chaz Kroger, the lead singer of Nickelback, and Josie Scott, the lead singer of Saliva. I freaking love this song to death. I mean, it had a very good rhythm, very good sound, and it's truly the main heart of the movie. I mean, this song really did blow me away from start to finish, and it was so darn mind-blowing. And it's really cool to see two different lead singers who came from two different bands found a way to make this song so darn memorable and magical. And it really did blow me away. I just love this song. Yeah, Chaz Kroger and Josie Scott, they did a fantastic job with that song. I think that song should have deserved to win an Oscar for Best Original Song. I rather prefer that song instead of that stupid Lose Yourself from that dumb A-word Eminem. Besides, that song had no heart to it. But for Hero, it does. That's for sure. And yes, ladies and dudes, I guess everybody wants to know is there any interesting fun facts that you did found with this movie that all of us should be familiar with? Yes, ladies and dudes, there is some interesting fun facts you should know about this movie. Okay. For Tobey Maguire, we already know that he's a vegetarian. He doesn't eat meat at all. And yeah, he did a whole lot of exercise, to get pumped up and make sure he could play the character just right, being good looking and charming and have some nice big muscles. So that's one of the good, interesting, fun facts I found with this film. And another interesting fun fact you should know about this film is that Will Dafoe dude. I know everybody loves this dude so darn much, and he deserves to be one of the best actors of all time. Here's one good, interesting, fun fact you should know about this actor. He can do his own stunts. He doesn't want any stunt double to take care of the part of the film. He really wants to do his own stunts. All of it. He just want to take that risk of, the fighting and working with the glider and doing those wire things. Yeah, he did it all. And yes, he did it again for Spider-Man No Way Home. He did his own stunts for that film as well. In the age of 67, if I remember right. And also, here's another good, interesting, fun fact you should know about Spider-Man. About Will Dafoe and Kirsten Dunst. Those two people have one thing in common. They got involved with vampire films. For Kirsten Dunst, she did Interview with the Vampire. You know, the little girl who's been immortal for such a long time and she was still a little girl. You know, for how many years? And you know, Will Dafoe, he was in Shadow of the Vampire. I don't know much about his character because I never watched the film, sadly to say. So yes, ladies and dudes, this movie does have some interesting fun facts you did not know about Spider-Man. So yep, the song called Hero is one of the best, strongest points of the movie, and some fun facts to be found. And now let's go on to the weakest point of the movie. I know some people will be mad at me for this, but I will say this movie's a little bit outdated here and there. There are a few scenes here and there that's kind of a bit of outdated. Maybe it's the cinematography, I think. And there was a little bit of outdated about the CGI thing, you know, where the Green Goblin had murdered somebody on the balcony and you see them all as skeletons. That was kind of too graphic for my taste. So I will say for my weakest points for this movie is it's a little bit outdated for this film. Sadly to say. And now let's go on to the characters. Who should I want to talk about I'll just go on with two. Just two characters. One character is Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, played by Tobey Maguire. I will say Tobey Maguire did a pretty good job with this character. He fit the role very, very perfectly. And to tell you the truth is, ladies and dudes, I forgot to tell you this. About 3 of the Spider-Man dudes, I gotta study their types. For Tobey Maguire, you know, what type of Spider-Man he truly is, he's known as the quiet and the shy type. Because he looks kind of quiet all the time and he's pretty darn shy. He's shy about something. Maybe something that he's embarrassed about, maybe. So, I really like the type of person he really is. I will say, you know, for Andrew Garfield, he's the lovable and fun type, while Tom Holland is just a very cute, but he looks like a lovable puppy type for all the Spider-Man dudes out there. So that's all I could say about Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. And as for Will Dafoe as Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, no wonder he did a pretty good job playing with this villain who is crazy, wild, and he's way too much of a psychopath. But Will Dafoe likes to play those type of villains, you know, wild and crazy, and he's a psychopath. He likes to be just kind of crazy. And yeah, his voice was pretty darn creepy, I will admit. He does look like a pretty good villain, but not really my most favorite villain that came from in the comic book film. Well, if you know what I mean. So yep, I will say Will Dafoe as the Green Goblin. I will say he's a likable villain, but not really my most favorite villain of all time, sadly to say. And now let's head on to my final thoughts of Spider-Man. Overall, Spider-Man is a pretty good origin movie to watch, and I will say this movie is kind of outdated in some parts here and there, but it's still a good movie to watch. I will admit that it is a good movie to watch. And it gave us nostalgia. I will say it had a pretty good storyline for the most part. The characters are likable. And the cinematography is somewhat good, somewhat okay for here and there. I really love the song Hero. It should deserve that Oscar knob. And I really love the score from Danny Elfman and good direction from Mr. Sam Raimi. So yeah, it's a pretty good start for the Spider-Man saga. So I decided to give this film an 8.5 out of 10. And coming really soon, I will do Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, but I'm not sure when the heck I'll get there for those other two films to come. And coming really soon, I gotta do my movie review back in the movie theaters to see the great and mighty Liam Neeson's next new film called The Black Knight. I can't wait to see that film. Oh, heck yeah. And so, that is it for now. I'll see you guys later, and sayonara.